Hello.
Cut this out later. You're tired.
Oh, God. Hello. This is Nair.
And I'm Bella.
And we're Perspeculative. And today we're going to be doing that part 2 to
Holy Nostalgia.
Oh My Goddess. So there were several things that we did get right. And several things.
A lot we got wrong.
Yeah. And one of the things I noticed right away, because I was watching the show, not realizing exactly when it came out in order, and not really recognizing things. Like, I remembered it, but it didn't seem right. And I found out that the OVA came out in 93, where the show came out in 05. So I went back and watched the OVA.
And what does OVA stand for any of our viewers who...
Original video animation, I believe.
Yes, so.
But anyways, so the OVA came out in 93, and I went back and watched that, and as soon as the theme song started, I'm like, I know it. And it did play out the way that I remembered it, where in the OVA, he was calling for food, he was not in the show. So it was definitely the OVA that I remembered, and it was way more... ecchi and questionable in the morality aspect of it in a lot of places. I thought it was kind of funny. They mentioned that in the show, how it'd be wrong if he had asked for her to be his girlfriend, to tie her down to him that way. And then in the original video animation, that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, in the 1993 version, that is what he asked. He did say, I want you to be my girlfriend forever, where in the 2005 release of the show, the more full-length version, he said, I want you to be by my side, which I do agree with more.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of stuff that was kind of messed up. I was noticing watching the OVA. I only watched 6 episodes of the show. I watched the full OVA and I watched the Oh My Goddess movie in its entirety. So I didn't watch a whole lot of the show, but it was way more ecchi right away. But again, questionable morality, because, for example, he forces her to be his girlfriend right off the cuff, you know what I mean? And beyond that, when they're on the beach, he was totally willing to drug her to make her horny for him. Not even questioning it, not being like, oh, should I do this? Is this wrong?
To be fair, Erd did peer pressure him, which that's another thing. He was going to watch a porno he thought Senpai sent him, and that's where he actually meets Erd in the OVA, is she's strip-teasing in a porno and comes out of the TV screen.
Mm-hmm.
And
again,
he's like,
for the guys.
Why do I have toes in my face? Oh, they're Erds, and she's a goddess.
Yeah, and the older sister. And that's another part. It's not just him who's doing things. It's Erd, because she kind of forced him to grope her, which, molestation? I'm just saying, there are things in the 93 version that are questionable, that then are not repeated, probably purposefully, in the 05 version. What the manga is like, I do not know. I know it was started in the 80s. I know they really had to condense / abridge / chop the crap out of the 93 version because it was 5 episodes long.
Yeah, which is part of the reason we're doing the part 2. We both watched the OVA series, which if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's 5 episodes. It'll take you an afternoon to watch them. We watched that and the movie before doing this part 2. I did not go back and watch any of the show, so not a whole lot of that. And you let us know if you're interested in a part 3 after watching the show, which I would think would be interesting to do. But yeah, totally. A lot of stuff I really did not remember at all. As far as the OVA, yes, the intro song unlocked childhood memories, and I was like, wait, what? And then it did sort of make sense where if you were watching the video for part 1 and you were seeing some of the snippets that Neri used in the actual video aspect of part 1, where certain characters had curly hair, were wearing animal prints, the hair was bigger, Yeah, that would be the 80s influence on the 1993 OVA before Erd's hair gets straightened out and everything.
Also, the very overdramatic music constantly.
Oh yeah, like organs playing for the melancholy parts.
So much.
It was very over the top. Even the voice, my brain did not appreciate the voice changes. In the
and
OVA.
the voice acting, but I mean that was kind of a typical thing in the 90s.
Even though you started off with one, Nair and I were talking about this too, that we think the two sort of just melded together, because there's no way I watched the series before I was 13, but I feel like I did, so I must have just watched the OVA and then melded the two into one, because watching the show when I was a teenager, that's what I remember now, and I didn't remember a lot of the parts from the OVA. It really just seemed like a slam-packed, condensed clam chowder version of the show.
Well, I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that we did get wrong. One of them being something I mentioned, which was a ribbon episode where I remember him walking in, looking at her, thinking about her laying down with just some ribbons covering her, and like her taking a step and her bra coming undone. I don't know, it was like a whole thing. And I might be confusing it with something like Tenchi, because I did not see that episode, definitely not in the OVA, not in the movie. It might be in the show, but the show was a lot less ecchi and a lot less, I believe
graphic.
You pronounce it, well, yeah, that, but seinen, which this is actually a seinen show, meaning that the demographic is for men 18 and up. So the OVA makes sense for that. It really goes towards that. But the show itself didn't seem to do that as much. So I don't know that it would have gone there when the OVA didn't even go there. But I digress. Also, there was nudity in the movie, but it didn't have nipples, which is typical of anime. You see girls nude, but you don't actually see those bits, which they can get away with stuff or cover it with the hair. You know what I mean?
Soft anime.
Yeah. Another thing was Skuld, which that's how it looks like you would pronounce it, Skuld, but it's Skuld. I was very surprised to hear that it was Skuld, although apparently at one time I knew that.
In the pronunciation of Skuld.
Yeah, we did. Oh, and I was talking about that the sisters, including Skuld, were very against Belldandy staying on Earth with the MC, and Skuld was, for sure, absolutely super jelly, wanted her sister back, didn't understand, thought he was dumb, the whole spiel. But Erd didn't seem to have a problem with it. Her biggest problem was them taking it too slow. Yeah. And that was about it, which was kind of weird if you think about that. It's her sister, and, like, she wants to catch the show, and what? But whatever.
That was a change I didn't really appreciate as far as going from the show back to the OVA, if you will, because in the show, it comes off more as she wants him to be romantic, sort of that kiss the girl kind of vibe, not like grope my sister.
I can watch you do it.
Yeah, so
because this is boring.
Because she needs a physical relationship.
Well, I was thinking, it's a man! Like, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Right?
Oh, yeah. But anyway, it was awkward for me. I can definitely see where this is almost like a soft, not hentai, but it's very flavored.
Ecchi. It's made for men.
I can see why Nair sort of was like, no, it's definitely for men. And when we say that, we don't mean just for men, but for adults.
The demographic. But I was actually surprised to find it was seinen. I don't know why I thought that it might have been more leaning towards the shonen. As we all know, it's not a genre, it is the demographic. So I thought it was more teenage boys, although the MC was not a teenage boy, was he? He could have been 19. He was in college.
No.
He wasn't a first year.
I feel like
so he could have been 19.
I feel like he was his early
20s. That's what I felt like too. Point being, I was still surprised that it was seinen, just because it didn't seem to be quite that level, but that's just me.
Yeah. And going back and watching the OVA, definitely it had some little just cringy bits like we were talking about with the music and stuff like that. But it made me appreciate this show a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of looking forward to going back and watching the show and appreciating those differences more. Like, it irritated me in the OVA when they got to the temple and she was just like, I'm gonna fix it up with my magical spell. Oh, reverse time on this beautiful temple. Remember your beauty. And then he wakes up and she's like, oh yeah, we can stay here now. It's cool.
Because I said so.
Yeah, it's cool. I converse with the birds in the building. It's fine.
It's all good. Don't even worry about it.
But
anyway, sorry.
At least in the show, it goes through a brief little aside with the monk, and he's like, you've inspired me to go off and find my own spiritual awakening, or something like that. And he's like, please take care of the temple for me in my absence.
Everything's given more, which makes sense. They had to condense it down into 5 episodes, where the show got multiple seasons beyond the bunch of episodes that it got to work with. And of course the drawing's better, the voice acting's better. It's not as 80s, which some people I'm sure love, but it does get a little cringy sometimes, so.
I definitely think Morisato was drawn better in the OVA than in the show. I think they sort of did him a
injustice.
Injustice, disservice. And maybe that was on purpose. Maybe they were like, you know what, he looks too hot. We need to make him more average. A little
this is
bit
for
derpier.
The guys.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the MC.
And I kind of did like that though, that it was, I appreciate that it's just a shy, hardworking but yet still unsuccessful guy that ends up finding his fairy tale life, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, and I think that there is something charming and slice of life with that, and I like that, and I think it deserves every bit as much as Fruits Basket to be here and be loved and be charming, and other slice of lives like that.
Strong disagree if we're trying to compare the two. Obviously, Fruits Basket being one of my 10s. One of my 3 10s in existence, so obviously. Oh, speaking of which, ratings, we were going to talk about that too, because I probably would have rated, oh my goddess, a 9 or 10 as a kid. I freaking loved it, as I said, and Bello said the same. But now we both kind of agree we'd probably rate it a 7. That's the OVA, the movie. Now, as far as the show, maybe higher, but I didn't get far enough in the show to really say.
I'd like to rewatch the show myself to have a more recent opinion and actually make sure that I finish it, because I don't know that I have since high school, maybe, to put a rating on it. But it would definitely be higher. We were talking the OVA, I might rate a 7. Maybe 6.5. It was rough. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was nice for casual viewing, I guess, background noise. It just wasn't...
Oh, God, background noise. You're good enough for the background. If I don't have to look at you, put a bag on your head.
Okay, some of those leopard print outfits Erd was wearing was rough. Just kidding. But only a little. But yeah, I did enjoy it. It was an okay blast from the past, and at the same time wondering why I was watching that show at 8
I know
years
why
old.
we were watching it. We had neighbors with a brother who was a good deal older than us, who was closer to the demographic, let's say. And he introduced us to Oh My Goddess, as well as Tenchi. Possibly as well as DBZ, although
Dragon
his
Ball
sisters,
Z, yep.
Yeah, his sisters also were really into that stuff as well.
Yeah, we didn't have cable, so we would watch that stuff after school at our friend's house.
Running off the bus to get to the Sailor Moon and the DBZ and all that stuff. But Tenchi and Oh My Goddess were also in among them. And he had the Tenchi movie that I watched that had more risque bits because it was a movie. And I think I did confuse that with Oh My Goddess. So, sorry, Oh My Goddess. You still had the inappropriate stuff. But not as bad as I remembered. But anyway, folks, I think we've covered pretty much everything we needed to say.
Let us know if you'd like to see a part 3, or if you'd like us to do another nostalgia piece. We've got a few different shows in mind. Some of them holier than others, if you will.
Definitely. All right, that's it, folks.